Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. It is questions and answer time, and anything goes for yourself, clients, friends, relatives, whatever you want to talk about. So go ahead and unmute yourself or type in, but fire away.
And go ahead, Shraddhananda, then Chris.
Hi, Shraddhananda.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. So I have a client and a relative.
Okay.
So my client has, you know, when your like your eyelid muscles get tired, you haven't got enough sleep and they twitch.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has that under the eye, you know, right above the cheekbone, under the eye. Sometimes his nose, and then further down, like right above the cheekbone. And
Well, that's a good part of the face. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he have them in any other parts of his body?
on his stomach,
Yeah.
but those are the areas that he points to the most. He's nonverbal. So the last session, we were actually on a virtual session, and his mom brought the camera in, and I could see that lower space under the lid literally jumping.
Yeah. So you know, like when we talk like about spasm, you know, there's like spasms and there's contractures and there's like trigger points, and you know, there's all these variations. There's one thing that you know, I don't usually call it by name, but it's like this little fluttering that you're talking about, and the term is called fibrillations. And a lot of times we think about it associated with the heart, but they can happen anywhere. And it's just like chaotic nerve activity that's usually a byproduct of inflammation.
Mhm.
And, you know, that blend, that, what's it called? It's not nerve, it's nerve soothe. It's actually for fibrillations. Like that's what it's for.
Okay.
And so it's one of the things, you know, because like my body's had like many injuries, you know, broken back and blown out shoulder and all this, and so you know, inflammation is something I'm always kind of managing because of these old injuries. And as I got older, real bad, and when I put that on for like a night or two, well, weeks, and when I put it on was probably 6 weeks ago. And I still get fibrillations a little bit, but they're like 20% of what they were. Like I used to just have them going all the time in my body. And you know, they're not painful, but they are kind of a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
You know, they're just, and it just means that there is a little something out of balance, but it's just the nerves start firing in a weird chaotic way because of the inflammation, and inflammation that's been there for a while. So I would do the nerve soothe like as a body tonic,
Uh-huh.
and then I would just do some sort of like anti-inflammatory. You know, it could be black cumin, it could be ginger, it could be frankincense or myrrh, you know, which is 3 wise men, in any version of that. And does he have like injuries or anything like that, or like?
Yeah, he's a pretty special kid. He has a enlarged heart, which is actually getting smaller due to the surgeries and medication that he takes.
Oh, good.
And he has a feeding tube in his you know, in his intestinal tract, because he can eat not necessarily pureed, but you know, like yogurt. He can eat creamed things, but his swallowing mechanism doesn't work well. So like water, I guess fluids that would choke him and everything. He has
How old is he?
15.
And what happened? Like, what was he born with, or was
It's
there
a genetic, it's a genetic disorder. I don't remember the name of it though.
Well, So with that, it makes me like the nerve soothe even more, because one of the things with fibrillations is sometimes there can be like tension in the neck and inflammations in the mouth, and this blend actually is for addressing those. The swallowing mechanism, there's that blend aerophagy that we had in one of the lymphatic classes, but even if you use a little bit of anise, like internally, like a drop or two, and have them drink it daily, it would actually probably improve. I mean, possibly, here you're dealing with a genetic condition, but anytime the swallowing mechanism or like gulping or anything like that, it's part of it's not really like, I wouldn't say dysfunction, but it's like there's something off in the autonomic nervous system. And so that's why the thing with the gulping of air or the aerophagy, it's to like calm that down. It relaxes this area, but it also balances out the part of the nervous system. And like whenever you see like a swallowing issue, whether he communicates it or not, he might not be aware of it because it's probably been there a while, but there's usually an incredible amount of tension or like spasm type activity in the stomach itself, like not the whole digestive tract, just like the stomach. And so it will actually help calm that down as well.
Adding the couple of drops of anise.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
like the first time or two, he'll find relief, but like done over a period of time, like if you do this kind of combination like this, like the symptoms will kind of float away, and it's just will like stop being a thing that they point out. The curveball that you have here is that it is a genetic condition, and sometimes, even with other things, people don't always respond the same way, but like this combination, I'd say track record wise has like 80 to 90%, like, man, it knocks it out of the park. The genetic thing is a big curveball because you don't know how ingrained or how much tension is in the nervous system or what the disruption is in the nervous system. So it might take more treatment, or it might need to be augmented further. But that is a great place to start, and I find it to be very, very soothing, very calming, improves sleep. It feels nice, and you don't have to have them swing big with a big bottle. Just start them with a little small bottle, make sure it brings him comfort.
Okay.
And then if it works, then you can just go through and do the bigger size.
And what's in the Nerve Soothe?
The Nerve Soothe is the primary thing is Melissa, but let me tell you the other things in there. Recipes in progress. Melissa, frankincense Oman, ylang ylang, and then hemlock spruce.
Okay.
Yeah, and that hemlock spruce is very specific. Like when I was trying the other spruces didn't do it.
Oh.
But the main ingredient is the Melissa, but the hemlock spruce is fortifying to the nerves and helps calm those things down. Ylang ylang, it slows down the breath. It's good for calming down some of the nerves, especially when like pain and agitation is present. And then the Melissa is the big nervine in this particular blend. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And the other one was I spoke with my grandmother's aide. My grandmother's 98, and you gave me some suggestions for her last week, so they're implementing that. But she shared with me that she's not sleeping during the night. I suspect it's because she's so immobile that she, cat naps all day. So then when it's time to sleep at night, she's not sleeping.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to reverse that. or maybe if she could sleep through the night, then she'd be more alert during the day. I don't know.
Yeah, like what can happen over a period of time is the pineal gland can get thrown off, which is tied to like the circadian rhythms and things in the body.
Uh-huh.
Let me just think this out for her. She's 98. You know, I think for her, you know, we want to impact the pineal gland, and there's not a lot of information on the pineal gland, you know, as far as, you know, people talk about it esoterically, but like holistically for treatment, there's not a big body of work there.
Mhm.
Different situations can help, or different situations would require different kinds of oils. It's not like, oh, this oil is going to knock it out of the park for this. It's almost like you have to figure out which is the thing that is going to soothe the body the most to start to, you know, regulate this function. And I think for her, with the sleep issue, it's one of the tansies. Like I would say actually go dark blue tansy. You know, if you just had the regular blue tansy, that would work as well. Do you have any tansy at all?
I have blue tansy. I don't have dark blue.
Yeah. Either one will work. You
But
can
I'm going
have
to be sending these to her so I can order it. She's not with me.
okay.
So order the dark blue.
Yeah, and we could just do like a little tiny bottle. You don't have to go like big on it. We can do like a little 2 ml bottle for you.
Okay.
And you know, actually, you know what would be a better choice is the Blue Healer. Do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's maybe think about doing it with her as a body tonic as well. Would she put that on?
They'll put it on for her. She won't.
Okay.
She's not capable.
Put that, I mean, that'll calm her body down. It will reduce inflammation, you know, calm emotions. It's very, very soothing. Let's do that. Let's, you know, and if you just want to try like a little 2 ounce bottle before you go up to the 8 ounce, just to make sure.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty good, you know, because also in the body tonic, I put a bit of lobelia in it, which is also relaxing to the body. But I also put some the mineral lithium, and very, very soothing to like stress levels in the body and stuff. And it also would help to like induce the sleep. Like I actually like lithium better topically than I do internally. You know, lithium's used as a precursor to serotonin, which then eventually turns to melatonin.
Mhm.
I find that it does it even topically. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's ingested. And
Okay.
so I would say let's try that with her.
So any specific places on the body?
Like the torso, like either the back or the chest and the abdomen, but like neck and shoulders, if that's even hard, like arms and legs. I mean, I'd get it on her, but torso would be best. And
Okay.
it's just like if she's laying face up, put it on her chest and abdomen, and if she's laying face down, rub it on her back and just call it good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Okay, keep me posted on those.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Chris, then Andrea.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey.
I have a question on
Mhm.
something I'm working on. I gave Sam the name of the person. So when I worked on them, they're it felt very close, their energy body was so compacted.
Mhm.
And they mentioned they had PTSD from their marriage, which ended a few years ago. A lot of brain fatigue. They don't feel grounded. And when they sleep, when they wake up, they don't feel rested.
Yeah,
And a
that's
lot of
the
mood
brain
swings.
fatigue and just like, yeah.
Yeah. So I was hoping you can take a look at their energy body for me.
What are you want me to address? Do you want me to just give you some advice, or is there something
Yeah.
specific they're trying to
And
tackle?
yes, maybe just to help augment the treatment that I did the first time, and maybe some specific oils and protocols that I can use just to help unwind things.
Okay, give me just a second.
Okay.
Is that person local there or somewhere else?
Local, but she's from another country.
Okay. Okay, I would say there's levels, and one is there is a bunch of like trauma.
Mhm.
And trauma can just be simply shift in perception. It sounds like she's aware of the difficulty in the marriage, but it sounds like life was changing dramatically, and I don't know when the move happened or when she came to the country, but the basic especially is heavily impacted by trauma. And so oil wise, helichrysum would be very good for that.
Okay.
And however, like inhalation, topical, baths, couple drops internal, like she's just going to have to work that for a while. That it's in the basic, like even through the arms and the legs a bit.
Okay.
I also like the idea of using galbanum in a situation like this, because the galbanum will help to offset some of the pain, even though it might be psychological pain. And that I would have her either take a couple drops internally or put a few drops on the wrist, but do the inhalation pattern where they go through the arms and the legs. And I think that will help unwind the energy body. I mean, part of what you're dealing with here is, she had to, like, the defense mechanism, which is associated with the basic chakra gut, had to get really activated, for whatever the situation was. So, like, you want to treat things that are basic chakra related. So arms and legs are related, protective webs are related, the internal organs for blood purification are related, and the spine are related. So like all of those things are things you're going to want to clean quite a bit. And when you go through and clean those things up, then you want to jump into the brain. The brain, like even if you spend time cleaning up the brain right now, the other things are in such a state that it probably wouldn't have a lasting effect. Like it would feel good, but it would just kind of eventually go back. Where here you want to unwind the conditioning that happened with all of that. So helichrysum and galbanum would be good. And then as that starts to unwind, I would go pretty hard on sage. Like, you would go like normal sage, Dalmatian sage. You could go a little bit heavier with Spanish sage. So I'd probably lean a little bit more to the Spanish sage for this. And so this does a lot of things. like the sage. Blue Mountain sage would actually be really good too, but it's a little bit pricey. But
Right.
so the thing that you're addressing with the sage is, for one, it's a like a neuroprotectant. Like, it protects the nervous system, it calms down the sensory nerves, it keeps the brain from getting overstimulated. Like, it does a bunch of things in that realm. It's also balancing to the autonomic nervous system. So if she's been in too much fight flight, or there's just like, glitches in how she shifts from fight flight to rest and repair, or action to rest,
Mhm.
that would help that. And then sage is one of the best things for brain fatigue. And so I would go pretty hard on that. One of the things that we were testing was I did this combination of several of the oils that are for parasympathetic activity, which is rest and repair, like rest, repair, and digest. And we added it to, I did the blend, but I also added some Blue Mountain sage to it. And it's incredibly soothing. And like when women start having like hot flashes and night sweats and things, those are like autonomic disturbances. Something's off in the autonomic nervous system that causes the sweating. And I was just making the blend for actually another particular thing. And I had a few people using it, and they both said that they had, every night they would have night sweats or hot flashes. And when they use it, the hot flashes would go away. And, traditionally you would use sage, but like sage would work, but it doesn't work like over the top where it just shuts it all down. And this combination is actually quite nice. And we haven't put it on the site yet, but
What's it called?
we were joking because, like, I was making it for something else,
Mhm.
something that wasn't going to end up on our site, but it was getting such a good results that I was joking, like, oh, we should call this No Sweat, and just throw it up on the site. And actually I might just do that, like just call it No Sweat. And because it's calming, like it kind of works on a lot of levels. There's the physical sweat, but it makes you calmer, makes you feel a little bit more chill. And I was playing with it and using it like right before I went to bed, and I just noticed, like, I felt good when I went to bed. I don't know that it made me fall asleep, but like I got good sleep when I slept. And so
And it has the two types of sage in it.
it has Blue Mountain sage in it, actually, which is it's a very potent form of sage. Like, the different sages do have some slightly different properties. And I tried to acquire different kinds of sages that sometimes don't even make it onto the site because they're hard to get, and there's not a lot of them. Like, even the Blue Mountain sage, we've bought up world production probably 3 years in a row. Like,
Oh wow.
I pay them ahead of time. They usually underproduce. So they have to give me money back and everything. But I was like, whatever you guys make, it's mine, right? And because they're only producing, like, this year it was like 1.5 kilos or something. Like, and so they're trying to up it, but it's such a good sage that I want it all for us. And so there's a couple other sages that are like that. And so I would say let's start going down just the rabbit hole with the things that either Spanish sage or this blend. Let's just call it No Sweat. We'll put
No
it
Sweat.
there.
I love the name.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, I have some really like rare fancy sages that we can throw at it that have lower levels of like ketones and things, part of the chemistry, where you can give like massive dosages, like topically. And you could use that in times of brain fatigue. The other thing that I would say, and you know,
So
like
that's just topical, right, Greg, and
yeah,
inhalation?
like topical inhalation. I mean, I think the people that were using it were the first night they just inhaled it, and then the second night they put a little bit on their wrist and inhaled it. And even one night in between, they didn't use it and they had sweating again, right? So it was like when they used it, they didn't sweat. And then when they didn't use it, they would go back to the sweating. And so, you know, that is tied to some hormonal shifts in the body. But I would say let's try that first. The other thing that I would throw at this, it's not a normal thing that I would throw, but I think with this person, it would be very, very helpful. Do we know, I'm just curious, is there any sort of circulatory issue? I mean, brain fatigue is a circulatory issue, but does she have like high blood pressure or anything like that?
No, she didn't mention that.
Okay.
Although
I
she
still,
mentioned that,
I still would put her on Gotu-Kola. And so Gotu-Kola is not something that from me, like just go on Amazon, get some capsules of Gotu-Kola and have her take like 2 or 3 capsules a day. We can stick in a URL to direct you right to the spot on Amazon. And you know, a lot of times I use that for like toning the veins and the legs and things like that. But part of the issue whenever you see brain fatigue is there is a circulatory issue that can be like in the abdomen, but a lot of times it's on the arms and the legs. And so the Gotu-Kola will help firm up some of the circulatory issues, but it's very toning to the brain and to the mind. And so I would throw that in the mix with her for a bit. So unwind the trauma with helichrysum and galbanum. You know, use the no sweat or some form of sage, and then have her take Gotu-Kola internally, and then energetically anything basic related. So bone, muscle, blood, right? So you're not really going to focus on bone, but muscle and blood would be like hitting the organs of blood purification, hitting the protective webs, hitting the arms and legs, cleaning the spine. That should be enough to start edging that person into a better place, where then other therapies will be easier for it to like settle in and produce a result. But with all the stuff going on with the basic and the brain fatigue, kind of anything else you do is not going to produce a very like strong result, you know, or I should say a long lasting result, because there's too much brain fatigue and too much issue with the basic chakra.
that's why it felt so dense.
Yeah,
I felt like I was getting anywhere.
It like when the basic chakra was wound up, like that's you nailed it. The energy, if you can feel the energy, it feels really dense and really not necessarily sticky, but like heavy. Like it just like you get in and it just feels like and it's just a way to unwind it. Lots of work on the health rays, the inner health rays, like all that kind of stuff. But those are the things that I would do primarily for a little bit, and it might take a while.
Then,
like you know. Definitely at some point do some really deep cord cutting, cord cleansing between her and the husband. And sometimes it resolves itself when you go through and unwind these things, but sometimes there's still like kind of old connections and things that just need to be cleaned up. And then after that, just whatever starts to present itself, either physically or if there's like a self-esteem thing that comes up, but lots of cleaning of the arms and legs, especially.
okay. And then for the mood swings, do you think the African bluegrass? She mentioned that her daughter might, I'm not sure now if she was just diagnosed with, or they suspect she has bipolar, and now she's thinking maybe she has it too.
For the same person or?
Yeah, same
The
person.
same person?
Would African bluegrass help?
Yeah.
Not really.
I probably would go, I mean, African bluegrass probably would help, but the bipolar thing made me go like, I think that use either Blue Healer or I like bergamot for when you're dealing with a little bit of like bipolar tendencies, or
Mhm.
it's not, I wouldn't call it calming to the emotions, it's like stabilizing to the emotions. And that's the thing with the bipolar thing, is that like they just kind of fluctuate a bunch. And so it's uplifting, it's very good for the mood, and it does like kind of stabilize some of those components. And in the past, I have mixed it with like blue tansy or yarrow or German chamomile, and you could do that, but I would almost just start just straight up bergamot.
Okay, so just have her diffuse that at night.
Diffuse it, even a couple drops internal, put a little
Okay.
bit of lotion and have her rub it on. Like the only issue with anything citrus is like going out into the sun. So like inhaling or internal is a really good way to do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome. Hey, tell Chris hi for me as well. So
I
say the
will.
other Chris.
Yeah, he's still recovering from COVID.
Oh, is he really? How long has that been?
Let's see, 22nd, about going on 3 weeks now. He's just very tired and has this congestion in his nose,
Okay.
nasal
Yeah,
passage.
but he is getting better, yeah?
I mean, he's working, and it's just that
Okay,
he
he's
gets
just
tired in
fatigued,
the middle
yeah.
of the day. Yeah.
Give him some form of time, like a gentle time. Like what kinds of time do you have? You have like linalool, Geranol,
Yep.
Thuyonol? Yeah.
Moroccan.
Yeah. How about linalool or Geranol or Thuyonol?
I do have
Yeah,
those. I
start
think.
giving him like 2 or 3 drops of that like daily, and it's not gonna like get him like bouncing back right off the bat, but slowly it will fortify his system, strengthen his body, but it also will encourage like lymphatic function, lymphatic movement. It's strengthening to the thymus, like all the things that got depleted in the COVID, it will kind of counteract. If he's starting to get fatigued, like in the afternoon, like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tibetan, or just get some form of rhodiola, like at the health food store. Just find some form.
I have
like,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Tibetan rhodiola, but any of the rhodiolas will work.
Okay.
And start the day off with it, and then after lunch you can take like another couple capsules or something. That usually will knock out the afternoon energy drop.
He's been taking the Monarda complex
Good.
regularly.
Yeah, good.
That has time, right?
It does have some time in it. Yeah.
Would that be sufficient, or do you
If
want
he's taking that, you're probably solid. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
cool.
the Melissa in there is also unnerving, Monarda's unnerving.
Yeah.
Like all of that's fortified. So yeah, you maybe bump him up a drop or 2. Like, so if he's doing 2 drops, bump him up to like 3 or 4.
Got it.
And then augment with the rhodiola and get him, hopefully he gets feeling better here sometime soon. That's the weird thing. Like this round of COVID.
It's just like a cold, but
But it's like it's longer lasting, and it's like much more fatiguing, and there's like longer like effects. We don't have the issue like we did where so many people were passing away, but it's still pretty debilitating. Like several cases that have been brought to my attention over the last like 6-8 weeks, all of them have been like long, like 3, 4, 5 weeks of not feeling good. Not necessarily all the symptoms, but they just, it's like basically the long COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I found out my brother's family has it too, but
yeah,
they're in Singapore. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much again.
You're so welcome. Good talking with you.
You too. Thank you.
And then go ahead, Andrea, then Troy.
Hey, Andrea.
Hi there. I have a client who has Mal-de-Barkman syndrome. Mal-de-Barkman.
She
I
said
had her write it out for you.
Yeah.
It's an inner ear thing. and she feels like she's swaying side to side, front or back, up and down or down. And she's had it for 30 years. When it gets really bad, she ends up vomiting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's
25 years ago, they did surgery on her ears to correct it. Of course, it didn't work at all. It made it worse. And I think it probably is worse for her under stress, but she's always under stress.
Mhm.
How old is she?
In her 60s, early
And,
60s.
and was there ever like not, going back like 30, 40 years, was there ever like a pretty substantial like car accident or like a fall where she hit her head or something like that?
I don't think so. Since that time, she's been diagnosed with MS, and actually the dizziness of this masked some of the early MS.
Right. There are parts of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the thing that makes it hardest is that when she's having a real severe bout of this, she can't function. But with this particular thing, if you lie real still, it gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So different than just like standard vertigo. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Vertigo
um,
often has kind of a circular spinning feel.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is definitely either back and forth, side to side, or even
Yeah.
up and down. I read about it a little bit.
I treated somebody in like a while back, many years ago, and the way they described, they didn't have the name of that condition, but they would get this from time to time, and they would say like it's like being at sea, but only part of you, like part of you is at sea and part of you is not at sea, and so
Oh,
it was
wow.
always like, like you don't have your sea legs, and
Yeah.
so like anything that's inner ear, and the reason why I ask about the car accident is
Yeah.
like when the neck, especially the sternocleidomastoid, gets wound up, it can cause quite severe disruptions in the inner ear. Like so there's those two rope muscles that kind of come down and
Mhm.
attach down to like the sternum and the collarbone, and they help to elevate the rib cage as well. So just out of curiosity more than anything, regardless of what she answers, I'm just curious. Like I'd ask about a car accident that she might say like, yeah, there was a car accident, but I didn't get hurt, but still there's the motion, the whiplash
Right.
motion.
Yeah. And I
So
don't
there-
really know on that.
There's that, and I would be curious to see if she sleeps on her stomach, like so
Okay.
that she's always wrenching her head to one side or another.
Okay.
That would be the other big thing that I would look for.
Okay.
And at this point, whatever's going on is going on, but still it can tell us like patterns of things we can unwind that might help her faster.
Right.
But if not, like the thing we want to do is unwind these muscles in the neck and the diaphragm. So, the diaphragm, a lot of times because the diaphragm is associated with the solar plexus, especially the back solar plexus and body tension, but the heart, the back heart impacts about 20% of it hits the lower lungs and the diaphragm as well. Like it contributes to the diaphragm issue, maybe about 15 or 20%. Most of it is usually solar plexus, but mostly like back solar plexus.
Mhm.
And so, you want to clean that up like really substantially, like just, and if you're specifically going after a certain kind of energy, body tension, like, because the
Okay.
solar plexus will affect body tension all over, not just in that area, like unwind that.
but you really want to open up her rib cage. Like the rib cage will unwind the neck. So open up the rib cage a bit and keep going back and forth between the torso and the neck. Oils that you can use to help unwind the sternocleidomastoid and the inner ear are things like hyssop and larch and things like that. But it's probably bad enough to where just doing that is not going to be enough. Like you're really going to have to unwind the neck and torso quite a bit. And, even that area, like at the base of the skull, you can put anything relaxing back there. I like to use vetiver, but anything relaxing can be helpful. Now,
Okay.
like the thing with MS is like sometimes it slips in for quite a while before, you really see the onset of the symptoms.
Mhm.
And so this doesn't really like treat the MS directly, but it helps to calm down some of the MS symptoms. And that's lemon verbena. Lemon verbena,
Okay.
super good for that. And then I'd also go back to the thing that we were just talking about with the sage. Like,
Yeah.
it's a neuroprotectant, it brain fatigue, balances out the nervous system, anti-inflammatory. If there's any sort of issue with a little bit of depression because of how the body feels, it kind of helps
Yep.
address that.
Yeah.
It hits a lot of things. And so I would say sage probably needs to be a bread and butter thing that they use.
Okay.
So sage, lemon verbena, something respiratory that is going to. Does she have anxiety?
Oh, yeah.
So let's add something to that. Let's have her put ylang ylang, like it could be anywhere, but like just drop it across like the upper abdomen, lower rib cage, and that will slow down the breath. That will make it easier to unwind the diaphragm. Because I think even the anxiety is all wrapped up in all of this.
Yeah.
And so like if you have her put on the ylang ylang, like before you go through and do a healing, it'll be much easier to clean that solar plexus, and it'll be easier to release some of the diaphragm when you get in and work on it.
Okay.
And then it will work its way up into the rib cage and up into the neck. And then there is let me see if I pull it up. I'm gonna send a photo over to Sam that she'll post. And this is the sternocleidomastoid and the little X's.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, the little X's you just treat like a minor chakra. And the pain patterns I'm not really super concerned about, but you can see the one on the left when she posts it is the more superficial one, the one that's closer to the surface of the skin. The deeper one, where there was only 3 X's on it, that's the one that really hits the inner ear.
Okay.
Like you can even see there's a red thing in the ear, because like, when people have sinus issues and they say, oh, my ear canal hurts or my ear hurts. It's actually not the ear, it's actually this muscle.
Okay.
It's just coming up just now.
Yeah. So she's going to post it here. You'll see what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Post it
Yeah.
in the chat as well.
Wanting to get it copied here.
And if you want to look it up on your own, the website is Trigger Points, like plural, triggerpoints.net. If
Okay.
you don't use the S, a different website comes up that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you, Robert, for posting that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I would give that a shot, like at least for a couple of weeks, and then let's revisit where she's at.
Okay. Okay. I have one other question.
Yeah,
and
fair away.
it's an easy one.
Mhm.
Not quite so complex as this. I think it's easy. It's about my grand dog.
Mhm.
And her name is Scout, and she's a rescue.
Uh-huh.
My kids got her about a year ago.
Okay.
She was 6 years old at the time. She is, to say she is extremely shy is an understatement. It's more like she is fearful. And she spent a lot of time at first before they really understood her situation, kind of cowering and then coming out and nipping at people to make them go away. And so she looked
Yeah,
aggressive.
it sounds like she got picked on or beaten or something.
Yeah, some really severe stuff.
Yeah.
Worked with a really lovely person, and she's becoming more relaxed. And the trainer actually uses essential oils with some of the dogs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really cool. But I got really excited when you said something not long ago to another dog owner about rubbing something on the spine. And I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder.
Yeah, so here you could do probably lavender or Roman chamomile, but a lot of times in stuff like this for dogs, I tend to use basil. And the thing that I have them do is like put like a few drops of the basil in your hand and then just like a little bit of alcohol, like rubbing alcohol or vodka or whatever, just so you
Like a
can mix
body
it up, and their skin doesn't always handle the essential oil in a neat application, but you put it in a carrier and it's fine. And
Okay.
then start at the tail and kind of like with it in the hand, and then just move up towards the head.
Okay,
It's very soothing for a dog.
okay, basil. That's cool.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah.
And any kind of carrier oil or
No, I would just use a little bit of alcohol of some sort,
Okay.
just so it dries and
yeah, like a body
and-
tonic.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
We'll try that. Thanks so much, Greg.
You're so welcome. And if it
you're-
doesn't work, let us know. There's other tricks, but basil usually will hit it.
Okay, great. Thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Troy, then Anne.
Hey, Troy.
Hey, Greg. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, fire away.
First one is I have a 15-year-old son,
hmm
and he is a great guy. And,
Wow, 15.
15.
You don't seem that old, but
I don't seem what?
you don't seem that old.
I just turned
Like to have a
46.
15-year-old son, like wow.
Yeah, I just turned 46 myself.
No.
Yeah, anyway, he is showing like some of the classic like teen angst type stuff.
Mhm.
But what just kind of like has started to be a lot more playing cards close to the chest, doesn't want to talk, and then there's just like a kind of, there's no like obvious glaring issues with anything, but there's just like an anger thing that comes out sometimes, and it seems like the stuff that he talks about, it is not it doesn't sync up, like the things that he's saying he's disgruntled or upset about or whatever, like it doesn't seem like a scapegoat type thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, at that age, the blame game kind of comes in, and it's not me, it's everybody else, or that's pretty typical for that age. In fact, I'd almost like, if the child was not doing that, that would be the anomaly, what I mean?
right.
And so yeah, like I would do things to like keep like emotions like calmer, just so that he doesn't go down the rabbit hole. And I'm trying to think of what that could be for him. So he's 15. Is he athletic? Does he play an instrument? Anything like that?
He plays trombone.
Trombone.
Doesn't do sports anymore.
And just because he doesn't like it, or not good at it, or got hurt,
He's always said he doesn't like it, and sometimes I'll you know, be a dad and be like, all right, put your shoes on. We're going to go for a jog around the block or whatever. Or we'll go to the climbing gym or something like that. And he kind of rolls his eyes and we'll go along with it. But it doesn't.
So it's
Doesn't like
the
really-
activity. It's not the competition. It's the activity.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's the competition.
Is he prone to like injury or getting hurt, but not really that bad, but he's got little aches and pains or things that he complains about, or
Yeah, aches and pains.
Okay.
Not like
time little lull mixed with Ravensara and diffused, topical, internal, any of that. But it's I don't know if this is even a term, but I almost like refer to this sometimes as like neurohormonal. You know what I mean? It's like the nervous system and the endocrine system are wound up, but there's just, you know, they're growing. So there's like fluctuations in the hormones that are being produced, and they're not always regulated. And it's not that there's anything wrong. It's just they're in a weird place or weird phase with it. And I've used this quite a lot. I mean, I used to use a version of it for whiplash patients because it would increase their energy levels. It would make them feel good. It would make them feel kind of like happier. And they tended to do things more, you know, shortly after the accident. But originally how I started using it was teenagers. Like just like almost like what you're describing. And so usually what I do is I put about three or four drops of Time-Linalool, about 2 drops of Ravensara, and a single drop of oregano, and call it good. And usually I try to get them to take it internal, but if they're not complying with that, then diffuse it. You know, I think there was one parent where I would have the parent wear it while they're around the child, so the child still had to smell it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So however you get it in and around him, it will be helpful. Even if you did like 4 parts Time-Linalool, and it needs to be Time-Linalool. The other times just don't do it for some reason. So Time-Linalool, 4 drops Ravensara, and 1 drop oregano, and that should be helpful. I mean, the big thing is in 8 years you won't have this issue probably, but you got to survive the 8 years. You know, like as soon as they get into that early 20 phase, their personality will change. They just need to outgrow this part, and so yeah, this should be helpful for that though.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
think this has to do with the allergies also? Because
For him,
Yeah.
I think probably the deep-seated issue is he's a teenager. Honestly, it's just who knows what goes on. I mean, it's just everything's exploding in his body, and it's just
right.
yeah. You know, years ago I tried doing different things with different teenagers because you know I used to work with they were high school athletes, but they were like high school athletes. Like the coaches would bring in a group of kids and we'd address their individual issues. And I would really try to get to the bottom of it. And then I just had this realization, they're just teenagers. They're just,
Mhm.
you know, it's just, you know, socially there's all kinds of weird things going on and they're trying to figure themselves out. They're in that place in between a child and an adult. Their hormones are going crazy. They're starting to be attracted to people. Like, you know, it's just a whole bunch of weird things all at once. And so, but there is like this coping mechanism that can happen in, it's usually a child or a teenager. Every once in a while you'll see it in an adult, but like how they feel like with like competition or an awkward situation or when something's expected of them or there's responsibility or they just don't want to do something is it's not that they're like faking getting hurt. They just get these like little mild, like kind of injuries. Like they just become a little bit like not even accident prone. They just become like little injury prone. And it's usually just a coping mechanism when everything feels just so like crazy. And
Uh-huh.
so I would say when I was like probably 11 or 12, looking back, I had a bit of it. And, you know, I just grew out of it at some point, but the thyme and the Ravensara together works really well. The oregano makes it a little bit more potent. So if you don't have the oregano, it's fine, but the thyme linalool and the Ravensara are the two pieces that really work super good for this.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll give that a shot. My next question was about a friend that's just started coming to Chronic Healing Clinic.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know her that well yet. She was referred through another healer friend,
Okay.
and she had a car accident a couple years ago, right after breakup, divorce with her ex, and she was an art professor, an artist, and she has not really been able to make art for a few years, and that was a big part of her life. And
How come you think? You think it's just like a little bit of a mental block, or she doesn't feel good, little brain fatigue?
I think it's kind of like it seems very like there's several aspects overlapping, like it's multifaceted.
Mhm.
It's you know, that kind of like all of the seemingly disparate parts are actually connected, you know, to one thing. Um, and she just recently um got in the studio and made a couple of pieces, and is you know, talking about wanting to get back into it and stuff. But I think that after her car accident and traumatic brain injury, that she, you know, was
So there was a
struggling.
brain injury.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact details of it quite, but yeah, I think she was struggling to just make mind body connection for a while, and then I think she still has like a lot of emotion to process from her divorce and from the accident. So I'm just trying to offer whatever I can to help her out.
Okay, let me just look at her for a sec here.
She responded really well to pranic healing last night. She
Oh,
had like
good.
a really great session.
And what did you focus on when you worked on her?
I didn't work on her. I paired her up with a pretty senior healer in the group.
Oh,
So I don't know exactly what she did, but
okay.
it was like night and day, before and after.
I'm seeing something. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Give me just a sec here. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay. This is going to sound really super weird, but so her Mingmen is super overactivated, right? If you look at it, like, she just got a healing, and I'm sure if you had a senior healer on it, that got cleaned up, but it's still super overactivated. She's got some weird like fascial lesions. Let's just call them blockages, but in the right shoulder girdle. Like I would treat the armpit, there's the little minor chakra up here in the front. I treat around the shoulder on the back, but clean the muscle on the shoulder blade itself. And the thing with the shoulder blades, it's this really kind of odd thing. Like you can keep going back and forth. We've kind of done it a little bit with oils where I've had people use helichrysum, and you inhale with your awareness on the shoulder blades. And what it does is it helps to release trauma out of the back solar plexus. And for whatever reason, there's a bunch of tension. It looks like it's either elevated or rotated or something, but basically just start unwinding that right shoulder girdle, but then really emphasize on the shoulder blade itself. Like you can use helichrysum on it. You could use trigger point blend. You could also use terebinth, but then go from there, treat that, and then go to the back solar plexus, and then go back to the shoulder blade, and then the back solar plexus. Keep going back and forth, I'd say over a few sessions or something, 25 times. Just really clean the shoulder blade, go to the back solar plexus, and then as soon as you're done with the back solar plexus, back to the shoulder blade, and just keep unwinding that shoulder girdle. Could be that it's got some muscle memory from the trauma. It could be just trauma itself. It could be, things that are stuck in the back solar plexus. Because if the back solar plexus is really wound up, those shoulder blades, not around them, it's actually on the shoulder blade itself, they'll start getting really wound up, really super wound up. And unwinding those shoulder blades really makes the back solar plexus let go. And she needs a lot of that. It looks like some of it's physical and some of it is probably, like you said, there was a divorce or something like that, probably a bunch of just bad times. And you could augment with a little bit of sage for the brain thing. But even with a traumatic brain injury, one of the things that I use right off the bat is either helichrysum or yarrow or German chamomile, milfoil, a lot of inhalation and a lot of just rubbing it on the neck and the jaw. Blue healer would be really great if you had that on hand, any version of that. You could have them do just breathing on the brain itself or applying it topically in and around the head and the neck. And that will be helpful for undoing the fascial lesions that happen from either the shaking of the brain or if there was a blow to that part of the brain. Yeah. It doesn't have to be on the site itself, because that's the thing with the brain is even if she hit here, there's going to be lesions here. There's going to be lesions on the back of the head. It's because the brain sloshed around a little bit. I mean, not really, but kind of. And so that unwinding helps substantially. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep me posted on that one. The thing with brain injuries, I think I've said on some of these study groups, I led a group where we went into a facility and we treated brain injuries for almost a year, and we had a team of them, and not one of them was the same as another one. It was always, everything had to be evaluated case by case basis. There was no template that you could come up with. There was nothing. Yeah, I had to start listening to symptoms and start evaluating something, but every head injury was kind of unique. You know, there was some things that were similar, you know, but you know, you always want to kind of at some point hit the prefrontal cortex, and you're even there, you don't really clean it. You just kind of slowly hit it with things that are regenerative. So those oils are regenerative, and delicate regeneration through the temples. Really super helpful for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there like impulse control issues and things like that, or?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually the prefrontal cortex is impacted somewhat with a brain injury. But even there, it's case by case basis. So treat her a couple of times, or, you know, have somebody treat her and then get some feedback, and then let's talk it out again.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Anne, then Barbara.
Hey, Ann.
Hi. I made a trip to West Virginia.
Oh, nice.
And I went to see my sister, but being 87, the 400 miles is a big undertaking.
Mhm.
And before I left, I had a toothache, and I don't know if it was just tension thinking about the trip or if I need to make an appointment. The tooth is important because it holds my denture in.
Okay. So is it top or bottom?
Top. Mid.
And were you having any sinus issues or anything like that?
No,
What about tension in the jaw, a little bit of tension on the side of your head? Were you having a headache?
no, but who knows when I was tense? It was just, I was worried about the trip.
Okay. Toothache. Well,
It's not hurting now. I just didn't know if I need to go in and have an x-ray.
yeah,
and
I think, you know, there's this muscle on the side of the head called the temporalis. And what happens sometimes, like it can be, you know, with sinus issues, it can be with all kinds of things, but also just under times of pressure and stress, it will tighten up, and then the pain radiates down into each individual tooth. And so, you know, especially upper teeth pain, I'm always like not sure that it's even upper teeth pain until we really start unwinding things. And so I would say take something that's a little, I mean, you're already out of pain, which kind of leans me a little bit more to it's probably this muscle than it is a tooth.
Okay,
And so I would take like something that you have that's antispasmodic and relaxing, and put like several drops on your fingers, and then just rub it into your temples there. And do that a couple of times and just see how it feels. But most likely that's probably going to resolve it.
And what would you suggest?
Like if you had marjoram, if you
Yep,
had,
got it.
yeah, perfect. I just do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, perfect.
Since I've gotten back,
Mhm.
I've had cramps in my calf, especially my left calf.
Put
when I
like 3 or
wake
4
up.
drops of that marjoram on your
Okay.
on the thigh or on the calf itself.
Okay,
Call it good.
great.
Like do it a few nights in a row, and you'll probably forget about it, because you know, like when I travel, like a lot of times what I do, you know, of course we have a bunch of oils and things with us, but I have like my own like little personal kit.
Yeah,
And in my toiletry bag, I have marjoram, so that like when I open up my toiletry kit, I put the marjoram like on the nightstand, you know, because like sometimes they'll make a hotel room like really cold, and I'll start to get cramps in the middle of the night. And like if you put a couple drops, it doesn't even have to be on the cramp. Like if you're getting a cramp in your calf and you put like 3 or 4 drops on your thigh, the cramp will go away in like 10 seconds.
oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so like that's your new best friend.
Oh,
Like
it is.
just keep it around, keep it by the nightstand. You know, preventative, just put it on before you go to bed. But if you wake up in the middle of the night where you got that bad cramp in the calf or the arch of the foot or something like that, Just put a few drops on the thigh. You don't even have to worry about getting close. Just get it kind of in the vicinity. It'll knock it out.
Oh, great, perfect. And for my sister,
Hmm?
I took my memory kit because I've been working with that on my own brain, and it seems to really make a difference. It
Oh, good.
clears away my head. But I offered it to her, and the smells were too strong for her. The cinnamon and peppermint were just too strong, so she rejected it.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. Other ways that you could do it, say, like if those are too strong, there's always rosemary or that memory support, and even sage. Sage can really help with like the formation of memory. Like that first, like initial, like where you're kind of taking in that information. It's short term. It's there for just like, it's like 30 seconds or maybe a minute, or I think it's less. I think it's like 30 seconds. And then it converts to long-term memory. Sometimes the issue is in that first 30 seconds or so. Sage will be very helpful with that.
Any particular sage?
Any of the sages, I would say clary sage, probably not so much, but just regular sage, Dalmatian, Spanish sage, any of those. Sage triloba, anything that you have, the Blue Mountain sage, any of those will work.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then Deborah.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there. First, I want to thank you for the class this weekend.
Yeah, it was nice, huh?
It sure was.
Yeah, like we definitely went deep on those elementals.
Yeah. My question
good.
for you is, late December, I had that cardiac procedure. So almost 4
Right.
months ago now.
The ablation?
Well, they couldn't do the ablation, but my question is the site at the left groin where they inserted the catheter,
Oh, yes. I was thinking of somebody else. Okay, gotcha.
it's still tender. And the EP thought maybe it had to do with a nerve issue.
Could be, yeah.
And I mean, there was no bruising, but it's still tender in that area.
And there's no like little lump or swelling or something?
Nope, there was never any bruising, swelling.
Try putting just like a couple of drops of helichrysum on your fingers and just like rub it into that spot like several nights in a row. And then if that doesn't work, the next thing I go through, boy, tonight is sage night. I would try some sage, like, sage or even vetiver. Like I'd start with helichrysum and then next one, either sage or vetiver to like just calm down that nerve.
So helichrysum first. And
I
then
would start with helichrysum. I mean, the other one that I would probably throw in the mix, if those didn't start bringing you relief within an application or two, is galbanum. I would throw some of that at it. Like it's sometimes when they pierce the skin and they go in, it's like close to a nerve or it hits a nerve or they cause a little inflammation or something like that happens. And as long as there's no like big lump or hematoma or anything like that, it's usually just a nerve got irritated or maybe got poked a little bit and it just needs a little bit of time to heal. Sage is very neuroprotective. It calms down the nerve. Vetiver calms down the nerve, stimulates some lymphatic movement in the area. But the helichrysum, if there is any sort of scar tissue or still something that needs to be fleshed out lymphatically, the helichrysum will do it. And if there's if you think of it in the idea of like a little bit of scar tissue, it could be like a little fascial lesion in there that is like wrapped around a nerve and keeps that nerve like irritated. And so even if you rest it for another 6 months, it still might just be the same because it's constantly wrapped around that nerve. Then the helichrysum will unwind that, So between all of that, one of those should get it.
So each of those are topical and try one for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
in succession?
Exactly. Yeah.
And does this have any bearing on doing a repeat procedure? Because we're talking about trying this again.
It wouldn't for me. Like I would say, unwind it just because there's some discomfort there, but I suspect that either it's a little fascial lesion or they got close to a nerve.
Okay.
You have it 10 more times and it probably wouldn't happen. It's like even when you get a shot, there's always a chance that you might hit a nerve or, there's areas in the body where it's less likely, but there's always that issue. And then there's always the issue that you might have a hematoma or something like that. And, it's most times it doesn't, but there's always the risk. Yeah.
I actually meant more the integrity of the vein itself that was punctured.
Is there a big concern about the integrity of the vein?
It's just a question. I don't know that there is.
You're probably fine. Yeah. I mean, if you are a little bit concerned about the integrity of the vein, take quercetin just to be sure. Like the quercetin will firm up the vessel walls, but it's probably not that big of an issue.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, and then Jasmine.
Hey, Deborah.
Let's get you unmuted.
Sorry.
Hey,
New
hey.
phone. Hi, how are you guys?
I'm doing good.
Good. So I've been trying to fill in the missing pieces, taking on your classes
Mhm.
by taking some pranic healing classes.
Mhm.
So I'm super excited. There's so much information I have to go back in and I'm reading the books now. But in the meantime, I'm hoping you can help me with my dog. We have red tide down here,
Mhm.
and he got exposed to it about 6 weeks ago. And about 2 weeks ago, they finally put him on an antibiotic, and they took an X-ray of his lungs, and they said there was a little bit of inflammation, so they put him on a steroid, which I'm now, put it on him, and then I slowly titrated it off. He's almost finished with the steroid. And then I'm in a hotel temporarily, and it's close to the water where the red tide just got blown in again. And the cough, it's not a cough, it's like gagging has started again. And I've been trying to do a little bit of research on how I could do some pranic healing on him. But, this dog is everything to me. So if there's anything that you could offer, I would greatly appreciate it.
So when you say exposed, like what would, like he touched the water or just the air or like was breathing it in or what happened?
So the first time, there wasn't much red tide around, and so he went in, and I didn't realize that there was red tide
So he
there.
was in the water. Yeah.
The second time, which was just 2 days ago, and the first time, it was within an hour, he started kind of gagging, and I didn't really understand it and didn't, because there's other things that it could have been. And then the second time was 2 days ago.
Okay. And how old of a dog is it?
He'll be 4 in August.
Okay. And what kind of dog? Like what, or at least what size? Like
He's
small?
40 pounds, a golden
40 pounds.
doodle. He's very much poodleish.
Okay.
Is in good health other than that.
So the thing that I would do is I would work on the organs of blood purification. So lungs, liver, kidneys, spleen. And then I would work on the physical heart. Especially like sometimes with dogs, when you see the coughing is it can be a little bit of a heart issue. Like not massive, but it's just like if you clean up the heart, the physical heart a bit, it will probably reduce the cough and stuff.
So, new to pranic healing and not sure what, would I apply the same sort of colors I would with a person?
No color.
when I'm-
No color.
Okay,
Yeah, just
just,
white. Mm.
okay, all right. All right, so I did work a little bit on his lungs and his spleen with that same sort of intention, but I need to carry it further to the other organs.
Yeah, you gotta do a lot. Yeah, liver and kidneys a lot. Yeah,
Okay,
and then the physical heart.
right, okay, I've highlighted the heart to focus on it. Okay. Well, and then the only evidence though is to really see the coughing go away. Is that?
Yeah,
what
yeah, like the coughing and the respiratory distress should, if it's working, it would diminish that.
And when you say really work on those areas, would you do it like a couple of times a day kind of thing,
Yep.
or just, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
If you have the time, yeah.
Oh, I'll make the time.
Yeah.
And then I had sort of an esoteric question for you,
Mhm.
which is, have you heard of this, like a back heart kind of expanding, where when people that can see energy, they see something that looks like wings? Do you know anything?
I hear people tell stories about it, but it's just stuff that they make up in their head.
Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
yeah.
All right. Well, I thought if anybody would know, you would have be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
source.
It's kind of a new agey thing that floats around, but it's just like when the heart gets big, it can kind of look like wings, but it would have to get really, really, really big. But the thing is a lot of people who, I mean, this is going to be kind of a lot of people who are clairvoyant are observing thoughts in their head. They're not observing what's in front of them. So they have like a story and then they just start like watching the story. It's like active dreaming. So I usually don't like to talk about clairvoyance too much because that's a lot of what clairvoyants do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I hope to join you in a class when things settle down. So
Oh, yeah. Hope your dog gets better soon.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Me too. All right. Well, see you soon, and I'll be popping on some Q&A.
Good, good.
And then go ahead, Jasmine, then Megan.
Hey, Jasmine.
Perfect.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, hey, how are you?
I'm great. This is my first time here, thanks to Deborah,
Oh, nice.
who just went before me, who spoke very, very highly of you, and said that I should definitely ask you certain questions. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. I'm
Okay.
a foster adoptive parent of 4 medically needy autistic children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
So how many do you have? 4?
yeah.
Four
Um,
autistic children? Wow.
Well, actually, I said for about a year that the one isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I got the silent treatment, but then, you know, what happened after COVID, you know, we got to go into the neurologist, he did his testing and everything. And he goes, I don't think she's autistic. I'm like, thanks, without me saying anything. But that's not even the problem. The problem is that she has multiple issues such as conduct disorder, mood dysregulation.
Yeah.
Very, very self-injurious to herself. I mean, rips out 2 teeth that aren't loose.
Oh,
type.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Has the
How old?
strength of an
How old?
adult.
How old?
6. She put me in the ER.
6.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
very, very the strength of an adult. So I was, you know, I've tried a lot of things, and so I was hoping. I mean, Deborah did mention something about autism, which would obviously be beneficial for the other three.
Yeah, like, so that child, it's a foster situation, you said, or it's
No,
a
she's adopted.
adopted?
Yeah.
At what age did you get the child?
They're twins, they're fraternal twins. So we met them at 7 months, and then we transitioned them to the house at 8 months. They
Wow,
were
good for
born
you.
at-
Yeah, good for you.
Thanks.
Is there any other diagnosis? Like, did they talk about like a potential like attachment disorder or anything like that?
Oh, I can pull out the list.
Yeah.
She has mood dysregulation disorder. She has conduct disorder. She has conduct disorder. She has what else? Frontal lobe abnormalities. That was just found last year after multiple EEGs, VEEGs, because she's had 4 seizures to date. Whereas the
Okay.
frontal lobe disorder was found at birth with her twin brother. They both also have a chromosomal abnormality. I don't have a copy of it. However, they said it was the one that had to do with Duchenne's and developmental delays. Born at 29 weeks, did I say? Oh, intrauterine drug exposure. I mean, I can go on. But
Yeah.
my concern is mom is, like 5'10", 5'11". Dad is over 6 feet tall, and she's a big 6-year-old. I'm only 5'2", so I need to get this fixed soon.
Mm.
I mean, I'm cleaning the brain. I'm doing the Ming Ming.
Yeah.
I'm doing the, front back solar. I'm doing the
So,
ajna.
okay, so you're talking about doing it with pH. Clean the arms and legs substantially.
Okay.
Like clean the spine, but heavy on the arms and legs, and just white, no colors, just white. Like at that age, it's harder for the body to process the colored products, and so white is actually more effective. So just I'd stick with that.
Okay, that's actually interesting.
Yeah.
Because I've been
So-
doing
so
electric
the
violet, light
issue-
whitish blue. Light whitish blue did nothing. They said no, make it a
No,
darker blue.
it's
and
yeah,
light blue.
like if you do have to use a little bit of color for something, you don't make it lighter, you actually like make it more medium. Yeah, like because you have to lower the vibration so that the body can assimilate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you recommend any type of oils or anything?
I would do like chamomiles, like Roman chamomile. It would be my top choice for something like that. I mean, it's gonna calm and soothe some things. Melissa is a bit pricey, but Melissa could be helpful here. There is a spray that we do where the Melissa could be helpful, but the thing is you're just going to have to do a lot of treatment over a period of time. And I specialized. I had these years where I would do different specialties. And I worked with autistic kids for a while, and then like foster kids and kids that had been abused and things like that. And it's not an overnight thing, but like if you do consistent treatment for a while, you can unwind some of these disorders. Like it doesn't happen every time, but think of it like this: the body got like so agitated that they go into like an automatic behavior, automatic kind of thinking, like their body just becomes like highly reactive. And it causes a lot of the things that you're going to call like a psychological disorder. And so if you unwinding the arms and legs undoes that automatic behavior, automatic thinking, and diminishes the tendency to dissociate so that the person can be less reactive. And then as they start to reach like 8 years old, they become more cognitive. And because 8 years old is about when the mental body starts kicking in for any child. But here you're wanting them to be able to process the information coming in when it hits that age. And a lot of that is unwinding the arms and the legs. the arms and the legs are an extension of the basic chakra, but a lot of dissociative type issues or reactionary issues, things where like we get triggered, a lot of it is in the arms and the legs. And it's not just like in medical aromatherapy. They look at it from the point of view of energy medicine, acupuncture, and even when I was doing some of these things, I was working with an osteopath, and the osteopath would do manipulations on the arms and legs to minimize the dissociation, because it has to do with like the way the nerves are functioning and like the circulation that's getting to the brain with oxygen, things like that. And so, yeah.
And what would you recommend for the regular autistic children?
Clean up the lower centers especially, but they usually have a very depleted sex chakra. And
Yeah,
so
so energize
like if
them
you
to
notice
attention.
like autistic kids will tap their, like they'll kind of pick or tap their sex chakra. Like if you start watching them, you'll ask them a question and they'll go, and then they'll start tapping their sex chakra because the energy goes up and then it hits their throat and hits their brain. And so because of the depletion, it causes issues up in the brain and the forehead and things like that. And so if you balance out the lower centers, the upper centers will improve. Like you're not going to make the autism go away, but you can kind of change where they are on the spectrum.
Any recommendations for, well, her twin brother is nonverbal. Anything in addition for that?
Still clean the lower centers and arms and legs. Yeah. If it was a twin, like he's probably got different, maybe some different manifestations, but like similar journey of how he got there. And so clean up the arms and legs again. And
yeah. I sent you more esoteric, the longer story in email, but
okay.
I thank you. And you said so chamomile, Roman chamomile, and
Roman chamomile, thyme linalool can be good. Roman chamomile, bergamot, petitgrain, like it looks like petite grain, but petitgrain. All of those are good for those ages and those kinds of conditions. I mean, nothing's going to be like a miracle thing, but it's will just help you manage the child.
Yeah, just to stabilize it.
Yeah.
Okay, bergamot. Oh, I see it. They just wrote it for me. Thank you so much.
Best application.
Application can just be inhaling or a little bit of lotion and rub it like on their back or their chest or something.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then go ahead, Megan, then Tasha.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Hey.
How's life up there?
It's good. It's really good. I'm gonna knock on wood right now. I mean, the oils are just amazing. Everything just keeps getting better. Like
good.
How much that, like, what's next? Which is kind of where my question is oriented. So I really love Foundations of Mystical Healing, and I'm just going all crazy with it and hitting it hard.
You and me both.
Having a ball.
yeah, you and me both.
But like I've said before, you've heard me say, I'm also just like, oh, there's that other thing I should work on, that other thing I should work on. So I'm fascinated to one day maybe crack the egg, as you called it in the class, the aura being the egg. Do I have to fix everything to crack the egg?
Oh no, not at all. It's like, it's a weird thing, like, because we look at it from the point of view from like our normal everyday mind, where we see a series of symptoms and this and techniques, and the thing with doing it from the mystical side is you just kind of like, it's not that one's better than the other. They're doing different things, like, is the best way to say it. And you kind of clean things up for a little bit, but you're never going to get it to where it's like, I've arrived, I'm perfect.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I've cleaned up the crime scene. Now I can move on.
Yeah,
It's a little
yeah.
bit more like that, or at least personally. So I
Yeah.
cleaned up the crime scene, time to move on. And in those mystical kind of practices and pushes, things shift, because it goes from, like, when we think of it as like a symptom, we think of things as a thing, right? Or a state or a place. I'm going to get to the place where I feel calm. I'm going to get to the place where I feel relaxed. I'm going to get to the place where I feel healthy. Something of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Where when you're doing it from the mystical point of view, you're engaging a process. Like, it's never about like, oh, I've reached this place or I've reached this state. It's like, let's open up the fire hose and see what comes out. Like, you know what I mean? And so things will start to come to the surface, and then you go back to the thing with the symptom oriented thing, and you clean up the crime scene again, whatever it is, like whatever came up, old traumas, old fears, old situations, some old chords, whatever it is. And then you go back and you go deeper into that. And so that's why I didn't start with a lot of the mystical practices, is I wanted us to get really good at cleaning things up, or at least have the body of work where even if you jumped into the mystical side, you could go back to the other side and go, okay, if I need to clean things up, what do I do? So I would just keep going back and forth, but go deep. I mean, even if you just do like something as simple as like the materialization breath, but like you could experiment with some different oils, and look at different situations. But that thing with, like you said, the mystical foundation of I can never remember what we're going.
Foundations of mystical.
Foundation of mystical healing. Like you can see there, that's where my dyslexia starts to kick in. It's unwinding something. It's changing your brain. It's changing your energy body. It's changing how you interact with the environment. And, we've done several things that are like kind of offshoots of it. And I would say at some point, just jump in on some other little, one of the little classes that augment it. Like, we're doing the mystical foundation of chakras, or what would we call it?
Yes.
Like that one's coming up. And the other one that's really big is the one that we did like about a month ago, the 8 materializations of Metatron. That really changes like how your brain works, especially for the mystical part of the mind, the more intuitive part of the mind. It's like, I didn't say it in this class, but when I traveled with the medicine man, and I actually had talked this out with Master Choa at one point, is there's a practice that I'm not recommending, by the way, but you stare at the sun. That's like, I traveled with medicine man. We went and did sun dances places. And so, it's usually like as the sun's coming up or as the sun's going down, but it does something to the mental body where it just blows everything out of your mental body. Like it is literally like just hosing it out like a fire hose. That class is like doing that, but without having to, mess up your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because if you stare right as the sun's going down, it doesn't really hurt your eyes. But if, when I talked it out with Master Choa, he said, first he wouldn't talk about it in front of other people, like on stage or something, but we talked about it afterwards. And he said, sunrise or sunset. And he said, you open up your eyes and you look for as long as you can. And then when you blink, you're done. And for me, that was like 30 seconds. And when we were outside and he did it, he stood there for felt like 10 minutes. Like it was just like, I felt like I could have gone to the store and come back and he was still
Wow,
doing it. And I'm like, there's no way I'll ever get to that. Like I can't, my body can't handle the energy that way. Like there's just no way. This is like a softer version of doing that. And so, keep working the foundation for mystical healing and keep working the Phoenix technique. But the thing with the foundation for mystical healing, spend time doing the brain. And then I can't remember if we put this in the master healing techniques, but I think we did. But it's like use the red healer on the basic, then use the orange healer on the navel, and then the blue healer on the front and back solar plexus, and then the green healer on the heart, front and back heart, the violet healer on the throat, and then the gold on, like, close your left nostril and just inhale it through your right nostril. And then the sacred blue, close the other nostril and then inhale it on the left nostril. And the left nostril is tied to parasympathetic activity. The right side is sympathetic activity. But when you work them both, like, more light comes in, you know. So if you look at, like, when we do Lama Yoga, or, you know, a sustained awareness practice, or in PH, the Dion, you know, you do the turtle breaths and you do all that. And then, you know, you be aware of your body, you be aware of the environment, you know, you're being aware of that. But at some point, you put your awareness on the nostrils, like the air coming in and out of the breath.
Yeah.
And what that's doing is it's allowing a lot of light to come into the body, and it's balancing to this part of your autonomic nervous system. And it just deepens the thing that's already happening. You know, like, you're already unwinding all these different things, but anytime you want to break down, like, a viewpoint, a thought process, repetitive thought, is stimulation of the mental permanent seed, or bringing in light, actually is what will break down those thought processes. Because, like, when light comes into the system, you know, there's light that comes up from the earth, but then there's the divine light that comes down. It's not like a different light in each of the chakras, but what it does is it adjusts itself to each of the chakras to bring out the better quality of the chakra and diminish the negative tendency of that chakra, including stresses and traumas and things that got locked into that part of the energy body. And so even by going through and doing that process where you're going, okay, be aware of your body, be aware of your spine, be aware of your brain. And then if you augment it with doing a little bit of the turtle breath and then awareness on the nostrils, it can be a game changer. You know, the back and forth breaks down thought forms too, because you're doing forehead, backhead, forehead, backhead. And so anytime you do forehead, backhead, you're also breaking down the thought form. And anytime, like, when your head's down, you're stimulating the right side of your brain. When your head's back, you're stimulating the left side of your brain. And when you keep moving it back and forth like that, you're harmonizing the two hemispheres, and you're literally breaking down the negative, like, you're basically doing, like, mental pruning by doing that. Like, it's breaking down, like, old thoughts that you've either outgrown or that weren't accurate, and it's making space for new things to come in that are more accurate.
Yeah. So I do the color on the chakra that you mentioned, and then I do materialization breath, and then the colors on each nostril with the other side closed, or I do materialization breath and then the nostril on each side with the color.
Do the materialization breath last.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
do you have saffron?
no.
Do you have, I think you got some ambret, right?
Yeah.
Use the ambret for the materialization breath.
Okay.
You know, so do all what you're doing, and then when you hit the time to do the materialization, do it with ambret.
Okay. And on the brain, do I do all the colors?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I'm excited. So you said, instead of just trying to go through, like, the timeline of my life or anything like that, if something comes up, I do this healing on something that comes to my awareness or becomes a problem in my life. I don't have
You can do both. Like if there's something you're like, this thing, it's holding me hostage.
Yeah.
I would target it. But, like, even when you do that, like, you'll notice that, like, okay, I'm doing this, but a bunch of weird thoughts keep popping up into my head. And a lot of times they float away almost immediately. But if you start to see like a pattern or something where it's like, that one makes me feel a little weird, that makes me feel a little odd. It's not necessarily traumatic. It's just sometimes it's something that we checked out on, like we were perceiving it, we checked out, and then, we just never processed it, or there might be something that's just running like on autopilot.
Okay.
And there are certain like patterns where even when you visit it, it's still going to be on autopilot, when you walk away from it, because we have a lot of things that are running without us being conscious of it. But it's like you clean it up while you put your attention on it, and then it runs better, like it runs smoother.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, let me know how that goes.
Okay.
And then go ahead, Tasha.
Hey, Tasha.
Let's get you unmuted. Think-
Am I unmuted?
There you go.
Yes, there you are.
Hi, good evening. About 4 months ago, I don't know what happened. I was under a lot of stress. There is history of hypothyroidism,
Okay.
and all of a sudden I could not walk properly. I think it was really, a lot of it was GI issue, which caused increased.
Like you had a hard time like walking in a straight line, or you had a hard
Couldn't
time
stand
moving your
up.
legs?
Couldn't
Couldn't
stand
stand
up.
up.
If I stood up, I felt weak, or if I put my hands up, all of a sudden I felt like I wanted to pass out.
Did you ever
And
have your blood pressure checked?
and then, of course, upon doing standing, it would just,
Did you ever have your blood pressure checked?
yes, it would just increase.
The blood pressure would go
Anxiety,
up, not down.
yeah, it would just go up. Yeah. And so this has been going on for like about 4 months. It's been, I am an Astarian too. And so I've been getting a lot of prayer and so forth. But I've been placed on a number of BP meds that has made me profusely weak. Anxiety still is there, and so forth. And so I'm just trying to figure out. I've been putting on like Solfugio music to kind of help with the chakras and everything, and trying to find the right med to be on, or just to get off of it,
Sure,
because now
sure,
I've
sure, sure.
lost over 25 pounds.
What
And
what kind of blood pressure medicine are they putting you on?
beta blockers
Beta blockers.
and alpha blockers.
Mm, mm.
And I'm having an increase in gastrin. And so I don't know, maybe the food isn't being absorbed properly, because now the weight is just dropping.
That's probably the thyroid issue. How off is your thyroid? Is it like significantly or just slightly?
Well, we've done testing, and in regards to the levels and being on the meds that I'm on, it's right where it's right where it needs to be.
Okay.
But when I increased it, I had night sweats. And so what I did is I adjusted it myself, and
Mhm.
so I no longer have that, but the weight just keeps, and no one can explain it as to why the weight is dropping, and also why the BP is doing what it does upon walking and standing.
And has there been any I'm just curious. Has there been any kind of sort of significant trauma over the last couple of years or anything like that?
I
Or
will
do you have
say during around that time, I took a new job that was just horrible. In addition to that, I was going to court a lot, fighting my child's dad for just child support. He's a minister, and I think he dabbles in a little bit of the spiritual side
Mhm.
and so forth. And but I
Sounds
was
like
just
he dabbles
driving.
a little bit in also being a little bit of a jerk.
I say the spiritual side. When I say spiritual
But
side,
like,
I
is he like really aggressive and like kind of a jerk towards you? Like really?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And
I was kind
but
of
I
making a
think
joke, but it was like not really a joke. Like I think
yeah,
actually
so
a
but I
big
think he
thing.
dabbles more like in trying to get back on the spiritual aspect of things. But it was that and just and all of a sudden I was driving to court and it's something, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I just had extreme anxiety
Okay.
and
So like normally I would look at this like from a point of view of like physiology or maybe something psychology, but I think like you said, let's look at it from the point of view of energetics. And you guys have a child together and you were partners for a little bit. So there's a thing like that looks like an umbilical cord that goes back and forth between you, with him, especially since you have a child. And sometimes they're negative, but there's always kind of positive ones there. Those positive ones look super, super, super contaminated. And when they're really, really, really bad, it could cause some of the symptoms that you're talking about. I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is, but
mhm,
everything that you're saying, and even like kind of like how I hear your like voice and everything, you just sound like beat up. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You just
And I look
sound
and
like,
that's not me,
yeah, like you just sound like you're just like worked and you're like, I just need to sleep this off for a month and then, whatever. And so you have a couple of choices here that can help kind of clean this up. Um, so there's a blend called etheric chords, or you can use ironbark eucalyptus. And then I would choose one of those. And then the other thing is I would augment that. I would use those first, and then there's a blend called chakral root cleanser. Like just whichever one you're using, etheric chords or ironbark eucalyptus, like inhale it for a while. And at first it's going to feel good, but after a while, start thinking of him as you inhale it, just because it will really clean the cords between you guys. And then the chakra root cleanser will just kind of flush out some of the contamination, which is like his emotions and hostility and aggression, and it will flush some of that out of your system. And let's have you do that for a little bit and then see where you're at after doing that for several days or like up to a week. And then we can kind of start fine tuning like how to treat the other symptoms. But in really extreme cases, and like I think like a big indicator was like you're on the way to court and then it got worse. Like that reinforced what I was already thinking. The timing of that is not a coincidence.
I don't think so. He ended up winning because I was so sick, couldn't get out
Yeah.
of bed. And but nevertheless, how do I get these items? Like
We'll post them on
We have them in the chat and I can also email you the links so you can order them.
yeah, because I sent an email, Reverend Peg was so enthusiastic, was so happy about telling me about you guys. And I actually see you on the blessings and the prayers and stuff.
Oh,
I
nice.
to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never met you before. I've met some old ones that were there years ago that I don't see, like Jenny. He's no longer there, and a few others. So it's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, but yeah, I gotta figure this out. 'Cause
Yeah,
this is,
let's get you feeling better.
yeah. So, all right. But I guess if you sent an email, because I emailed you guys yesterday when I spoke to Rev, and I sent an email and I got a response back, but I think it was too late for me to respond back.
Okay, good. So I have your email. Good.
Oh, I see the chat now here. Okay, so this is on your website?
Yes, those links that are posted go directly to the oils on our website.
Okay. All right, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And keep us posted.
Absolutely. Okay.
And great questions. Go ahead, Deborah, after Tasha.
Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Greg, there's another issue that I was hoping you could tell me.
Mhm.
I keep having that I'm really working to try and flush out fear that keeps occurring in my different chakras. It feels like I release one situation and then there's just like another layer of fear that I'm trying to eliminate.
Mhm.
Is there a particular oil? I mean, because it's in several different chakras, it's not like, I don't know, I'm kind of lost. I'm overwhelmed. Like, where do I even begin?
But
I go back.
let's set aside the idea of talking about it like that it's in the chakras. Like I would say, like fear, like will hit in a dynamic way a lot of the different energy centers. And
Okay.
so a lot of times when we look at like things like anxiety and like fear, it can be, there's different kinds of fear, and it can be for a lot of different reasons. And so really when you boil down what like anxiety is, like I would say this, you could say this as like psychological, physiological, or you could even look at it from an esoteric point of view, but they're just like different ways of saying kind of the same thing. And a lot of times what happens is with anxiety and fears and things like this is first we have like a stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. So there could be a little bit of an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. And so we want to always do things to kind of balance that out. So lemongrass, sage, tarragon, things of that nature can be helpful. But really what we're talking about is there is, we all have this to a certain degree, but it's like a disconnect from like awareness of things that have gone on in our past, or awareness of things going on now, or even potentials that are like in the future, even things in the environment. It's not even always about us, but that the practice that we do, like in some of the classes where we're going, okay, look at the external situation, now feel it in your body. Where do you feel it? Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel like a heaviness or like a clamping down or a cramping or just like an armoring of sorts, right? And then you kind of go back and forth, and then you feel it in the body, and then you go back to the external situation. You do that a few times, and then you go from the external situation, and then where do I feel it in my spine? And what you're doing is you're connecting your awareness or the intuitive side of your mind, which is beyond the senses, with the things in the environment and with you and your body. And when we have anxiety or fears, we're too like everyday brain or too left brain. It's tied to that disruption in the autonomic nervous system. And so by sitting and doing that practice, with oils or without oils, you can sit and just do it where you go, okay, you're not trying to control the thing in the body or the external. You're just observing it. And like I would say the part where it gets really more important is like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little comfortable, or I should turn away. That's when you should really like sit and just observe it even more, because you're starting to like pierce a little veil of sorts. And so if you keep kind of going back and forth between the external and then internal, and the external and internal, you'll start to diminish that, and you'll start to notice that the fear responses actually diminish. The thing is when we get a little too left brain and we don't really are aware of it, it's like being aware or wondering what's in the room with the closed door with the lights off. Like, there's something in there, but you don't know what it is. So then your mind starts to try to do like all the damage control and, oh, I got to do this, got to do that. It produces the anxiety. So if you are able to sit and just practice the sustained awareness, a lot of times the fear and anxiety will diminish substantially.
I love this. This is something I feel like that's very tangible and
Hmm?
something I can do. Um, and one of my go-to oils that I carry with me is tarragon.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Perfect.
So sort of a follow-up to that is I'm noticing more and more because I do absorb other energies and environments.
Mhm.
And right now I don't have a lot of control over my environment. So I noticed that when people are negative and even the slightest bit of negativity, I respond like inside like 10 times I normally would.
Mhm.
Do you think that this kind
It's
of thing is going to help
it's
that?
probably tied to that. And like if you look at like the tendency to be like absorb too much from the environment, like one of the things we use for that is hyssop or chakra root cleanser. And it's because both of them also deepen the breath and then again contribute to being able to be aware externally and then aware in the body. And so it still contributes, but hyssop and chakra root cleanser diminishes the tendency to absorb negativity from the environment and from other people.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so
Thank
welcome.
you.
Great questions today,
Mhm.
guys.
Yeah, it's a good session. We still have a few more.
minutes if you wanna
Yeah.
come up with-
Yeah, let's get more practice. Okay, so we this happens a lot. We talk about, fight, flight, rest and repair, and like a lot of the questions we're talking about, like using sage to balance things out. So let's have you do this, like pull out like some form of sage or tarragon or anise, lemongrass, ANS support. I'm blanking on. Anise, rosemary verbenan. Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take. What am I doing with this? So you're going to take it and you're going to start by closing the left nostril. And then you're just going to take long, slow, deep breaths through your right nostril. The ones from the weekend, if you want to use your elemental regeneration, you can use that blend as well. And just keep inhaling through your right nostril. And then switch over and you're going to close your right nostril. And now you're just going to inhale through the left nostril. And then go back over to your right nostril. So you're closing your left nostril and you're just inhaling through the right nostril. And then switch over to the left nostril. Plug the right nostril and just take long, slow, deep breaths in the left nostril. And then just be still for a moment. Just let everything settle in. Just be still. Again, plug your left nostril. Inhale through your right nostril. Take several long, slow, deep breaths. And you're switching over to the left nostril. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths into that nostril. And then just be still. And just be still. Notice how you feel. This has a balancing effect. It's a different way of trying to balance out the fight flight versus the rest and repair. It's a way to kind of open up the head, calm down the body. And so, yeah. Well, we're going to switch over to the, excuse me, the prayer petition blessing, and join us if you can. And if not, we have a study group for the 8 materializations of Metatron tomorrow night. And then we have a class that's a review for a lot of you, the Sharanagati class this weekend, further developing the intuitive mind. So hope to see you then, or if not, maybe next Tuesday. Take care.